All right. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are. This is Cesar Tatabanco from the Global Chamber, and this is our League of Opportunities. It's the second part for May. We had one last night for me about 15 hours ago, and it was really interesting with people from the Philippines, Australia, and in California. So it was very insightful, and this one's gonna be the same. And for all of you who are new to the League of Opportunities, this is an event where we invite members of the Global Chamber to present about their companies, a little bit about their industry, to touch base on some specific opportunities that are around, and of course to connect with other members who are here listening and exploring opportunities. And so for today, I would like to start with a new member in the UK, Alex Howard. Alex has a very interesting proposal. It is a new type of professional sport, and he will definitely explain more. In a follow-up call we had, he mentioned his interest in connections in the US, but Alex, you will definitely tell us more about your project, your needs and goals. So welcome, Alex. Good afternoon for you.
They are, thank you. I'll go straight into it, shall I? Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm Alex Howard. I'm the CEO of Field Gun Sport Limited and the rights holder for the sport of pro field gun. Our mission is to revive the noble sport of field gun as a contemporary global sport. What I'm going to do now, because it's pretty niche, is I'm going to share a very brief video, because this, I think, gives you a taster for what it's all about. So this was the tournament as it was run by Royal Navy crews, teams and those are crews, and this was Devonport, who eventually held the world record. But this is the idea of the sport. So I'm taking this sport away from the military. Don't do it anymore. I'll get onto that. But I'm taking this sport as a civilian professional sport. The guy who stood on the side of the track, Martin Fricker, has come on board the crew, come on board our team as one of the trainers. So you get the chance to meet him maybe in the future. But this was it. It was the toughest team sport in the world. And the idea is that you just take that 1 ton of gun limber across this assault course as quick as you can. A non-contact team race. So there is no head trauma. And the stalking horse for sport is concussion. You don't get any of that here. You won't lose a finger, but you won't lose your mind. Anyway, that gives you a flavour of it. I won't dwell on it too long, but maybe you see why I would choose to get this back on a global stage. Maybe in a slightly different format, but keeping with the tenets of the sport. So once described as the toughest team sport in the world, it has its origins in the efforts of the British Royal Navy, particularly after being granted the freedom of the City of London by Queen Victoria. For a century, this was showcased through the Inter-Command competition based in London, which was stopped in 1999 for a number of reasons, which I won't go into now, but we're happy to talk about another time. After a generation's hiatus, the sport is now set to return. We'll be following established business models and we'll be bringing it into the 21st century as a contemporary offering. It will remain amongst the toughest team sports in the world and offers numerous partnership opportunities with potential for growth after a dormant generation. As I said, it will be coming back as an internationally franchised touring league at the top level, but with plenty of supporting operations underneath it. So you may know that sport is one of the fastest growing industries globally, with exciting projections for future growth. There's a lot of international investment in sport, and that's what I'm hoping to secure to make sure that we can launch internationally. But as technology integrates the sports, human effort still defines its appeal to a global fan base. and business. And so where many industries see AI as a threat, we welcome it as an opportunity. And finally, on the characterization of the sport, short form sports and women's sports grow in popularity, and field gun is ideally format and ready to embrace these drivers. Naturally, short form, it lasts about 3 minutes. We're going to probably push that out by changing formats to about 5 minutes, so there's more scope for commentary and punditry. And then the women's sport, never been done, and that can't persist in the 21st century. That will be addressed. Okay, just as we're in a global audience, and this isn't just done in Britain or the Commonwealth, there is a South American country that practices the sport of field gun as part of its Naval Academy's military training. No guessing, because I'm going to ask you why, but does anybody know what that South American country might be?
I'm gonna go and guess Argentina for some reason.
No. Well, I'll have to wait to the end. You'll have to wait to the end for the answer now.
I see.
You'll have to wait for the end. So you've got to stay in this and stay with it. So I'm as I said, I'm the global rights holder for the sport based on the Navy's Intercommand competition, which you saw in the brief clip. And there are plenty of different forms of field gun, but this one is the top level. And it was always done by professional athletes, even though they were serving military, but now we're taking it into a civilian sphere. So it's characterized with the crossing of the obstacles you saw. And we are, as I said, following established business models, particularly an internationally franchised touring league. If you're looking for an example, then the one that's new and successful, look at Sail GP. But we have plenty of advantages over them in terms of capital costs and so on. So from my research and from my engagement, to the sports industry, it represents a new competition that, as I said, is short form, high impact and very demanding, with unparalleled, untapped heritage and a wealth of opportunity to close that gap of a generation in terms of training, analysis, and to grow rapidly in response to demand. The world record was set in 1999, and at the time it was believed that would last in perpetuity. It's there now to be challenged. I'm already talking to Guinness. To fans, which I hope I'll be able to count you in their number soon, it represents compelling competition by dedicated and courageous athletes who live by the values of endeavour, discipline, and camaraderie. When you put your trust in another person to this degree, you quickly become trusted friends. But to partner businesses, the sport represents the opportunity to make the most of such a property. To make the most of such a property with no commercial legacy is rare, truly rare. We have global ambitions, and we're ideally packaged and formatted for a contemporary audience consuming sport. Sport is across a massive, wide range of media platforms, and we are able to exploit all of those. And globally, there's nowhere we wouldn't go. Really, the four corners of the globe, we hope that are open to us. We would like to take it there to get to fans, because everybody needs to know about this. I hope you understand my passion. Before I ask you to consider who I might want to connect with, I'll ask you to consider why. Why wouldn't you want to be partnered with a sport that wears its values with pride and also brings heritage into the 21st century as a forward-looking commercial venture? This sport isn't done merely for the preservation of its heritage. We move on from that. We look for the best in what it was and take that forward. And we look for the commercial opportunity. So it has to be something that actually both direct to customer and business to business, they can both see what we offer. Now, this is important. As I said, we're a rare opportunity. We're a commercial blank canvas. the uniform you saw the sailors wearing had no activations on it, no sponsorship. The arena had nothing. But next time you watch sport, consider the business that are represented through activations and marketing messages and what drives them. Then consider the relative value for money of a new and growing international sport that is set to make a real impact. I can tell you, the pent-up desire for this sport is incredible. And the last note I've been told to cover off is any particular opportunities for members to try. Or get in touch if you want to know more about partnering opportunities. Also, as I said, we're heading for a world stage. And that's really important to us as we rapidly develop the offer of international franchises. So at the top level, we are willing to sell the commercial rights to the league. We're looking for franchisees to buy teams effectively, all to compete in our world-class touring league. But we're also looking for venues to go to. And it's interesting that you mentioned Australia being on in the early hours. They've just announced that they're hosting in Brisbane the Edinburgh Tattoo. And I think that sounds like an opportunity for us. Now, before I take any questions, you're all dying to know the answer to the question that I posed. So just as we've got a second to spare, anybody want to take a guess now? Quick guess. Go on. Go for it. Any brave soul, just say something. Say a South American country.
Hey,
Alex.
Alex, this is Pankaj Pramanik,
Yeah.
proud global chamber. We are a VC. Cesar, Doug, the whole gang knows us. We are
Yeah.
working on the global market. I just came back last night at 8 p.m. Still jet lag for 11 days marathon.
Hi, Pankaj.
Yes.
Thank you. Let's try to get you into later on. We're trying to wrap up.
Okay.
Alex.
Well,
so
what
sorry.
about do labor this one anymore?
Alex, I said Argentina. I guess that's a no, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyone has a guess?
Hey, I'm gonna say Brazil because I'm sitting in Brazil and we are very good at sports here. So yeah, I'm gonna say Brazil.
Fantastic. Well, you're not far off. It's Chile. It's
Okay.
Chile, and the reason it's Chile is because, as I say, the naval heritage of this. Nelson had a guy that was his contemporary, a guy called Cochrane. He was just a bit crazy. He was a member of parliament at one point. He got thrown in jail. He got broken out of jail. There's too much heat from him in London, so he disappeared to Chile and became the patron of the Chilean Navy. And that's why the Chileans do field gun or in their academy. So there you go. But yeah, I'm quite happy to take questions now. I've just posted my email address in the chat. So if you don't get around to what you want, then please email me. And if you just want more information, you're interested in partnering opportunities or anything else, just let me know. I love to, this is my passion and I live it. So the more the merrier, the further afield it gets, the better. So questions, please.
Any questions for Alex? Alex, are you working with a franchising expert already, or you're doing that in-house? How you're planning that?
We would be happy to work with somebody who has that expertise to maximize the value of the franchises. Yeah.
Okay. No, we can put you in touch with a couple of members in that area.
And similarly, it's going to need some serious investment to get this to the point where we're ready to sell those franchises. We're currently looking at the Texas State Fair as an event that we could go alongside, and we're talking to them at the moment. But it's a model that we've demonstrated in the UK by going to country fairs with a demonstration team, and we always get a really good response. One guy said he's been on the fair circuit for the best part of 20 years, and by many orders of magnitude, we are the best entertainment he's ever seen. So that's pretty cool for me. Yeah.
Cool. Excellent. Yes.
Hi, Doug here. Do you have a website for this? Is there a video for it? What kind of marketing material do you have where just to pique some interest, we can send that off to some folks?
Yeah, so the fieldgunsport.com is our website. It needs a revamp with our new season material, and I'll get that in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
But I'm more than happy to send you out the concept of what we're doing, which goes into a fair bit of detail on how the sport's done, how it's run, and where I see the opportunities and how we're going to grow it. As I said, we love an established business model, so we're going to take that franchise touring league, we're going to bolt on an NFL style draft, and then bolt on an IPL style tournament, and then go back to grassroots with the Masters. So yeah, there's so much scope for growth.
But is there video of the actual action?
Yeah. There's plenty of it. What we don't have at the moment is anything contemporary, so we're just getting that tidied up. We're working on that at the moment, but
Okay.
I'll get that out. I'll get that out as soon as I can. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Got it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Alex.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alex. And again, I saw you put your contact details there, so if anyone is interested, feel free to connect with Alex and follow up directly on our side. We will be connecting you, Alex, to a couple of people. I know. When is it that you're going to Texas?
So we're looking at running a 3-team competition, 3-team league throughout the period of the Texas State Fair. That'll be a precursor, really, because we've been talking to other venues, and next year we're looking at a full USA tour. But if you want it to come somewhere else, we can respond to that.
Okay.
So USA and Canada in 2026, but not necessarily. We're agile enough, we're capable of growing fast enough to be able to respond. And when I say we grow quickly, there's real passion from the alumni that did this previously, the veterans that did this previously. And I've spoken about the heritage. For me, maintaining the standards that they expect is absolutely crucial. So it's not going to be a watered down version of the original sport. It's going to be pretty mean.
No.
And like I said, big important thing for me is the growth of a women's sport.
Sounds good, Alex.
Ethical and commercial reasons.
Thanks again, Alex. And we're going to make sure to connect you to some people in the region as well.
Yeah. Cool.
We were going to move forward to the next speaker, but before, Pankaj, if you can introduce yourself for a minute, and sorry for interrupting you. We were just trying to wrap up.
No, just I came last night for my 11-day trip. So you know that. So if anyone is looking for FDI, we can help. So only FDI. So we are working with multiple projects, multiple global chamber member in our partner. So we don't want to name it. Yes, anyone is looking for FDI, we can help. Thank you.
So thank you, Pankaj. And your contact details are there in the chat. So now I would like to move to Rhonda Bowen, our member in Germany, and her husband, Rudolph. They have a special opportunity, and I was changing emails with Rhonda this week. I say, hey, Rhonda, if you can jump in on Friday, that would be great, because the more people we put this in front is, the better alternative and solution. So Rhonda, welcome.
Thank you so much for having us, and I hope it's fine for you if we share our screen.
Please, yes.
Okay, very good. So we are fortunate to have lived in our home for the past few years, and Rudolph has for the last 25 years, in addition to having studied law and worked in big international banks like Citibank and the Royal Bank of Scotland here in Germany, has always had this wonderful extra occupation, which is making sculptures out of stones. And so when we leave this wonderful house that we live in now, where we have a gallery, where he can show his stones, where he has a studio, where he can also produce these sculptures, we won't be able to take these with us, unfortunately. And we have set up a website, which I'll share in the chat when we're finished, to give you an idea of about the 65 or so pieces of art, all made of stone, that we would love to find a new good home for. And as I was in Dubai last year and staying at the Intercontinental and walked through the entire hotel, I found lots of stone sculptures in various places in the hotel. And we could imagine either a hotel or a business office or someplace where you would like to have very different kinds of art to be shown. And with such a large number of pieces, you could also rotate things and show things at different times. So today we've just chosen 4 that are sort of showing what various kinds of things there are. And so they each have a name and they have these very different looks and feels to them. Some of them can also be shown outside. For example, this tilted marble face. Some are more for indoor, like this bows and breaks. And you could see this is a picture taken inside the gallery in our home, which, as I said, we will no longer have. And this is also part of the gallery, and this is in another part of our home. These are anywhere from a few centimeters or and high up to maybe about 1 meter, and anywhere between a few kilos and up to 30 or 40 kilos, made of different kinds of stone. And each of them having their own special thing. They're either very abstract or they have something to do with faces, because Rudolph also collects masks from Africa and from various places around the world. And so I will put the contact details in the chat when we're finished, but I would just love anybody who would have questions to Rudolph, because he's the one who actually produces these. If you have any questions about this or you would need any additional information, we will be putting in the chat a link to the website that shows all of the work, so you can see the entire collection and Rudolph's contact details by email. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rhonda. Very interesting. Any questions?
I've just put all the details in the chat for anybody who'd be interested.
So you think hotels, maybe some corporate offices, anything else that we can have in mind for the sculptures?
I don't know, people who are interested in culture and people, Rudolph has also done exhibits in hotels, for example, but what often happens with hotel exhibits is they have more than one artist come and they do something for a very short period of time. Many corporate offices also engage people to do art for them, but I'm sure many of you know, if you've been in big museums, they can't display everything at once. So if you had a space where you could keep things, even if you could only display 10 or 15 pieces at one time, that wouldn't really be a problem, because at that moment you could have those out, and in the next season for another event, you could have a different set of pieces that would all come from one artist. And Rudolph has all the background information on when they were made and what they're made of and the dimensions. Everything is on the website that we've put in the chat. So you could reach out. And Paola is asking, would you like to tell a story about one of these pieces?
That's a great question, Paola. Yeah. Thank you.
Can you tell a story?
Imagine to produce a new work comes from seeing someone in the nature or in a museum or in a prospect. And when I have an idea, then I make a model by clay, a small one. And first then I elect which stone I could use for this form. And first then I start working. I work the raw forms I make by machine, by a flex, but more in detail I take missile and hammer to bring it in form, and at least I polish it so the surface is very slightly.
Mm-hmm. And the interesting thing, Paola, you may have heard of this with various people like Michelangelo. The interesting thing about doing stone sculptures is it's exactly the opposite kind of art that you normally know. If you think about a painting, there's a blank canvas and you put things onto it. With a stone, you have this big, ugly looking thing, and you have to take pieces away. And the more you take away from the stone, the more you see what's on the inside, the more you see the different colors, the way certain veins go through it. And you never really know what you're getting to until you've taken something away, but you can't put it back. Once it's gone, then it's gone. So it's when you do art with stone, it's a very different way of looking at art than most people because they're building something up. And here you're taking things away and looking for the core or the essence and making it into the right shape and looking at how it should be set, where you can put it in, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a very different way of looking at art, but and it's of course something that lasts for a very, very long time because it's not something that has, like fashion where after a couple of years you wouldn't look at it anymore. And the other nice thing is that originally Rudolph didn't give any of his pieces names because when people bought work from him, they often gave it a different name than the name he would have given it. But because that won't necessarily be the case anymore, when you look at the website, you will see that each piece also has its own name that he's given it.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Hmm?
Rudolph.
Thank you, Rhonda and Rudolph. I have an idea. We got a member who's starting the International Boutique Hotels Association. It's like a new project, and I thought it might be a good connection because he's trying to connect with different hotels, and there's might be a linking part there that for the sculptures. I'm gonna make that connection, and so the ask for the group is take the link that Rhonda shared and share it with your network, the ones in the art area, the ones in the hospitality, architecture. Feel free to share that link, and we'll be doing the same to find some prospect for you, Rhonda. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Paola, as a way of transition, do you mind introducing yourself for a minute?
Thank you for the time, Cesar. Well, I'm Paula. I'm from Mexico, Guanajuato. If you heard of the city where independence of Mexico was born. So, well, we're here and we work on call centers. We are good at giving customer service, and we are looking to grow into international projects because that's where our expertise. So, I will be pleased if you have any connections around well, could be financial entities or any kind of enterprise that has troubles on giving customer service or it's growing, that could be helped by us. So thank you, Cesar, for the time, and happy to be here with you.
Thank you, Paola. Make sure you leave your contact details there in the chat. Guanajuato is one of my favorite states there, so it's always great to have you there.
Must visit place.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So the next guest or spotlight speaker is gonna be Frans Musen. Frans is a member, relatively new member in the US, although he's Dutch, and he's connecting companies that are interested in the US market or European market. So basically helping with international business. Frans, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Good morning. Thank you, Cesar. Yeah, so indeed, I'm of Dutch heritage, but educated in the US and got my footing here in the US and particularly in international business. In technology sales, I started out in the internet boom and then drove it all the way to the bust. And what was interesting of that, both the boom and the bust, was that out of the bust came a lot of whole new innovation, new products, new technologies, ways of using technology to speed up communication and save actually on communication costs. And that was very fascinating. I'm based in Washington D.C., so all of this stuff happened in practically in the backyard. And what was fascinating for me as an immigrant was that a large part of this technology boom and bust helped both international trade and international communication, and therefore also international exchanges, which, as an immigrant myself is quite hitting close to home. So that really spurred me into thinking about what I want to do with my life, and which is what I'm have been in pursuit of doing for the rest ever since, is helping innovative companies expand internationally through business development and hands-on and advisory services. So the company that I'm part of, we help startups and scale-ups enter new market segments, whether that is in the US or whether that is in Europe. Those are our two main market segments. However, we also do work in Canada, in Mexico, and then in South America and in Eastern Europe as well. Very little in Asia at this moment, but that is basically because of outreach capabilities and time differences, which is one of the values of helping companies grow. The current every couple of years there's something new and interesting, and that often enough changes happen because of technology changes or how people optimize how they sell and communicate with each other. For example, a couple of years lead generation services was super popular and everybody was utilizing LinkedIn and email campaigns. And now you kind of see that is saturated. So then there's a drive for new ways of connecting with potential customers and partners, and that drives again how you proposition your own value statement and how you communicate that your audience should spend time with you, which is a super challenge, more challenging now than ever. And then on the macro level, of course, the changes in the political landscape, how that affects or builds or breaks bridges into international expansion and growth and sales and communication, and how to navigate that. Because the fact remains that if somebody closes the door, that doesn't mean that there's not a market behind that door. So there's always an interest in regards to communicating and connecting with international market segments. Now, if it is more difficult to do that, if there are higher risks to it, how do you navigate it and how do you figure out if it is worth your effort? So that's what we do in a nutshell.
Thank you very much, Frans. And you have a partner, you're in DC area, as you said, and you have a partner in Silicon Valley, right?
That is correct. My main partner is in Silicon Valley, but then again, we have a large team, and then we also extend our work through contractors. Thank you, Cesar, for that. So the ask is not only see if there are anybody that might benefit from our services, but also somebody who might be interested in helping us with our client work, particularly in business development and sales and figuring out the market segment. Not so much in market research, but really very much in the business development segment.
Good, good. Any question for Frans or comments? And Fran, how's the workload this year? I guess services are not as affected for what's happening in the world of tariff and trade, but how is the workload right now?
Well, it is interesting. So it is I'll take the positive spin to it. So in the beginning, even last year, there were a lot more startups who were interested in coming to, for example, European startups that were interested in coming to the US market space. Ideally, startups don't necessarily expand internationally. Startups should focus on their home market and then expand closer to home before they go into a new continent. However, the hurdles for international expansion and going into, for example, the US, those hurdles were very minimal. And then companies and particularly startups can see the golden mountains of the huge accessible market that is the US. And now all of that has changed. There are a lot of hurdles. And that basically means that startups now have more risks when they expand into the US, whether it is in regards to protecting their IP, whether they're going to get a worker's permit, how to enter the US market, and how to extract themselves for in cases things go bad, and then also, you know, is the political climate going to do to economic conditions in the US? All of that makes it a lot more risky for startups to come to the US. However, what it does do is for scale-ups and more mature companies, they have to think sharper about entering the US market segment and more strategic. How do you overcome all those challenges? How do you overcome limitations to you know, workers' visas or requirements for production in the US? And how can you leverage that to your advantage? So what we do is changing. Our objective remains the same, helping our clients grow in a new market segment, figuring out what their value statement is, figuring out who their competition is, figuring out how to compete properly and position themselves, and then finding those corner customers. Now we just also help our clients with figuring out how to deal with all these continuous changes.
Yeah. Sounds good. Thank you very much, Frans. Have you met Peter Greviage in the DC area?
No, not yet.
Not yet. So Peter is in the call, so I'm paying not to put you on the spot, but if you can introduce yourself for a minute, that would be great.
Yeah, thank you, Cesar. My name is Peter Gravik. I'm out here in the DC area. I'm over here by Dulles Airport, out in Herndon, Reston. I don't know. You didn't mention where in the metro you are. So my firm works in a few specialized areas of international trade and project finance. Very quickly, we do three things. So we do investigations, due diligence, and recovery work for export credit agencies, development finance institutions. Most of these are quasi-governmental institutional players. So for example, you have Exim Bank and DFC here in the US, but we also work with a lot of the Europeans and Asians. We also do some work on the EB-5 Investor Visa Program. This is a program that's a immigration pathway, and it still has the legal framework intact in order to operate. It goes through congressional renewal every few years, et cetera, et cetera. I can go into the weeds, but I'm not going to drag you guys there. And then finally, we do some work in larger consortia on economic development projects, infrastructure projects, and the project financing and due diligence in a lot of countries. We work in 127 different countries. At least that's our track record. So, you know, we work in a few very specialized areas. A lot of it's public-private partnerships, a lot of compliance details that I'm not going to bore anyone with. But this is kind of the space that we're familiar with. So, friends, if you're in the area, we should grab lunch or a cup of coffee sometime.
Excellent, fantastic. I'm in beautiful Bethesda.
Yeah, just up the street, just
Exactly.
northeast of here. So,
Thank
you're
you,
in Maryland,
Peter.
I'm in Virginia. We'll try not to move around.
Exactly.
Thank you, Peter. Peter, one of those members, was traveling always and sending us pictures with other members around the world. that's Peter. Thanks, and thanks again, friends. We'll be making some additional connections for you. And then last but not least, spotlighted member is Wagner Mentler from SGF in Brazil. Wagner, the floor is yours. Boa tarde.
Hey, boa tarde, Cesar. How are you? So it's very good to be here and very good to getting to know everyone a little bit better. So it's a pleasure to meet you all. I'm Wagner. I'm from SGF Global, one of the executives. I represent the Brazilian team, although we have other executives in Brazil as well. To talk a little bit about SGF Global, we are an international HR provider. The company itself actually started in Venezuela. Our CEO and founder, Mauricio, was providing staffing services and recruitment services to oil and gas companies in Venezuela. And then the company really started to, I would say, expand a lot after we started providing services to Shell in the oil and gas industry. Right now, the headquarters of the company has moved to Miami. So we are in the United States and the headquarters is in there. But we have presence in over 35 countries, and we have been in the market for more than 30 years. The type of services that we provide here usually goes with, you know, HR services, but I would say that headhunting is one of the biggest services that we provide here. We help companies not only, I would say, find those talents in anywhere that we have presence, but we also help them in hiring those talents as well. So in Brazil and in many other countries, we can provide staffing services. We can help companies to hire independent contractors, full-time employee under this staffing model. And we also have the employer of record model for companies that, for example, don't have a specific entity set up in that country. So let's just say, for example, that Alex wants to explore the market in Brazil and, you know, or in Chile, for example. But he wants to hire a representative or someone who can go over there and probe the market and try to find new business. We can help him to find this talent in the country and then hire this talent for him under our employer of record services. In that sense, he don't need to have a legal entity set up in there. You don't have to go through all the burden of opening the entity, of having to find like a team of lawyers or anything to do that. In a matter of weeks, Alex would be able to tap into that new market, explore opportunities, work in there, and then in the future, he can decide if he wants to really like open an entity and be more, I would say, to deep dive that market. This is something that we can do in all of the markets that we work for. And it's pretty interesting because we have lots of partnership with companies such as France, for example, because usually companies, they want to explore the market. They want to go to US, for example, or Mexico, Brazil. But first of all, they're trying to decide which one would be best, would be a best fit for their type of company, their type of industry, their type of market. So companies like Frans, they do this whole process of consultancy, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, Frans, but usually we partner with you because you would be the one to guide them through the process, and then you can have like a partner such as SGF to help them execute the process itself. So this is something we can do. We also help with other services, such as, for example, we help with BPO, payroll process outsourcing. Sometimes the company they open an office, they have an entity in that country, but they don't have structure over there. They don't have like a huge team. They don't know the rules about the payroll calculations or you know how to deal with everything that's legal or labor laws. So we can help the company navigate that market. Here in Brazil, one of the biggest clients that we have right now, it would be like Facebook Meta. So Facebook Meta represents like one of those companies that, you know, wants to explore and really deep dive in Brazilian market, but they don't have like this whole, I would say, huge executive team that to assist them to do that. And we also have very other types of companies. About the markets that we work for example, we are very strong on oil and gas. And it goes without saying that oil and gas is a pretty huge industry in Brazil. Right now, with everything that's happening, we have, I would say, we are exploring the oil and gas market, and some of the reports that we have, they are showing that Petrobras, for example, that's one of the major explorations here, will have the peak on exploration until 2030. So right now it's a very good, you know, it's a very good time to invest and to be here in this oil and gas industry. And the second one would be IT. IT is a very big industry for us as well. And IT, it's a type of industry that can hire easily remote talents. So for example, we have lots of clients that they are companies from US or UK, Canada, and Europe that they want to hire very specific talents, and they want to do this in a more cost efficient way. So they can hire those talents in Brazil, they can work for them in Brazil, and they can get paid in USD, for example, or in Brazilian reals. The thing is that usually a very specific senior employee that would cost around 10K USD in Brazil, the same professional will cost like 2K. So it's very cost effective to hire professionals in Brazil and many other countries in Latin America. And right now we have presence all over South America, all of those countries, all of the countries in South America and Central America, we are over there. And as I mentioned, we have presence and headquarters in US, Canada, we have presence in Portugal, we are opening an entity right now in Belize, and we have presence in, for example, Israel and Morocco, so very specific countries as well. So I would say that that's mainly, we can really help companies that are trying to explore new markets, expand, and they need help to hire and to understand a little bit more about those markets. But we can also help companies that need assistance in their own local markets with headhunting services, staffing services, business process outsourcing, and many others. And as a report that goes for the CIA industry, we are checking that right now in 2025, 3 of the biggest markets for the staffing industry are Brazil, one of the largest, United States, and Canada. So it's a very good time to work in the staffing industry on one of those 3 markets as well. And I have put my contacts in the chat, but I can, of course, resend it to everyone. My LinkedIn is always open. I'd love to meet and to, grab a coffee if any of you guys are here in Brazil. And it's a pleasure to meet you all.
Thank you, Wagner. Did you say Belize? That you're opening?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay, I would like to connect you with someone that we got there. What's the country that's keeping you very busy in South America? Is there any particular country that everyone should be aware of? The opportunities that are increasing there?
Yeah, sure. We just released, for example, a blog post on our LinkedIn that shows the growth in the amounts of opportunities in Uruguay, for example. So this is a country to look for. And right now I have projects that are ongoing projects in Mexico. I have projects in Peru as well, Colombia, and Uruguay, as I mentioned. So Brazil is one of the markets that I'm really looking into because, I'm here. So it's one of my specialties. But Mexico, it's always a very busy market. Colombia, Uruguay, Argentina, right now, not so much due to all, complications with politics. But I would say that Colombia, Mexico, Peru, and Uruguay, and Brazil are were some of the biggest markets right now.
Perfect. Any questions for Wagner? Anyone here in the group? I guess I think Paola left, but Paola could be a good connection there in Mexico. There might be some synergies. And you said Wagner, your HQ, your CEO is based in Miami?
Yeah, that's right. The CEO is based in Miami. So we have the office in Miami, and also we have presence in another countries as well with pretty much the representatives of the company or the leadership of the company. Right now we're sitting in like Colombia, Mexico, Brazil, and US in Miami.
I'm gonna follow up with you. We're doing a meetup in Miami. I mean, with Miami members later this month. So I'm gonna follow on that. Nihi, I see your hand is raised.
Yeah, thanks, Cesar. I just wanted to find out if they're operating in Africa or not.
Hey, so I know that we had some projects in Africa. I can check if we have like our own legal entity in Africa, or if there was like a specific partner that assisted us. But I know that we had projects in Africa, yes.
All right, thank you. Just wanted to know.
Yeah, I help lots of companies in Africa in other situations, not specifically with SGF, because there are lots of companies and lots of countries in Africa that they speak Portuguese as well. So it was always very good to make business with Africa.
Okay, I'll connect with LinkedIn.
Can you introduce yourself, Nihi, please, in a minute?
Yes. My name is Nihi Sanusi. I'm a lawyer in Lagos, Nigeria. By virtue of my work, I also have a connection, a wide network across the continent of Africa, including some of the Portuguese countries I believe you are operating in, like Angola, Mozambique, and so on. My work basically is to support companies that are looking at the African market, either for now, immediately, or in the future. We expect Africa to become much bigger, a bigger market as the years and decades evolve. So hopefully, if you are interested in connecting, I'll be happy to have a discussion as well. Thank you, Cesar.
Thank you, Nii. And thanks again, Wagner. I have a couple of things to follow up with you on. So that's great. And if anyone wants to connect with him, I think your contact details are here in the chat, right? So that's good. And before I pass the baton to Doug, I would like to call Jerome DeRoy. Jerome, I think you're a new member. I haven't had a chance to meet you yet until now. So Jerome,
Hi.
welcome to the Global Chamber. It would be great to learn a little bit more about you.
Oh, thanks so much. Thanks for the shout out. So yeah, I'm Jerome DeRoy. I run this company called Narrative, which is all about storytelling. We have a book called Powered by Storytelling, which was published in 2018, written by the founder of the company, my business partner, Murray Nossel. And essentially what I do is I create leadership development, employee engagement, sales training programs that teach people how to tell a story in such a way that it creates an action and it creates kind of an emotional resonance with their customers, their employees, etc. We've been doing this since 2000 and have worked with companies that range from, Prudential Financial here in the US, all the way to Chanel and Novartis in Europe, as well as Eastern European countries as well, through foundations that we've worked with, because we work a lot with not-for-profit organizations, big ones, like UNICEF and Open Society Foundations, and some that really have a pretty big impact, where telling a story can actually change things in such a dramatic way that laws will actually be changed to help people who historically have been discriminated against or stigmatized for cultural and historical reasons, you name it. So that's where we've kind of been able to create a sea change in a lot of different countries, especially in public health. So that's about half of our business is in nonprofit advocacy, foundations, public health, and then the other half is with for-profit companies. Really, we don't really focus on one industry, but if I had to say, if my back was against the wall and you said choose one industry, the one that we've had a lot of success with is life sciences. So that includes pharmaceutical companies, healthcare organizations, biotech companies. And I think the reason we're successful there is because a lot of the employees and leaders have a personal connection to a health issue that they've had either in their families or in their own personal lives that has informed why they do the work that they do, why they look for cures and treatments, and are interested in putting into the market drugs that actually can save lives. So we do a lot of work with those companies to help them shape the story that's going to be told. So yeah, and we have online courses. We've got in-person training programs, and that's sort of the business model.
I can think of a couple of people ready for you. So it's a pleasure meeting you, Jerome. And where are you based? Do you mention?
Yeah, so sorry, no, the company's based in New York State in the US. We have 2 partners in London, and we're all remote. So I am based since 2022 in Albuquerque, New Mexico in the US.
Okay, perfect. So I think I probably haven't followed up to the welcome email that Sophie sent. So, but I'm going to follow up with you because, for the New York partners and the London partners, we got chapters there. So
wonderful. Thank you. And thanks to all the speakers today. That was fascinating.
Thank you, Jerome. And then let me just pass it over to Doug. Doug, are you still around?
I am. And I think another good connection for Jerome would be Deborah Shames, who spoke a couple days ago. I don't know. Were you part of that, Jerome? Did you catch that her conversation?
No, I wasn't. I think I just became a member 3 days ago.
So. Okay. So she spoke just this week sometime, and she's got a couple books out, and she's really great at teaching people how to write and to speak and weaving in stories in very effective ways. And so, and she lives in Taos. That's why the other reason why I thought would be a good connection. Thanks everybody for speaking today. Great presentations. Parts 1 and part 2 were very different, both very valuable, learned a lot. Thank you all. We have coming up later today in 3 hours, the Global Chamber Phoenix Metro chapter conversation, and they're spotlighting several different members, but also a roundtable of things that are going on in that region. On Monday, we have our first monthly global logistics conversation. So check that out. We've got several different logistics experts who are going to be talking about what to expect over the next several months, and it's probably not reduced shipping costs. I'm pretty sure of that. And then on Tuesday, I wanted to spotlight the other leadership program that we do every month. We do 2 of them. One of them is more around health and wellness for leaders. And we talk about things like sleep and things like that, and our own personal health. And then this one is more around methodology and how to be a better leader. And we have Rutherford Pascal, who's an expert on John Maxwell. And his readings and his teachings. I've read 6 of his books in the last few weeks, and 2 of them twice, and have been personally impacted by what he's written. And so I really thank Rutherford for introducing his teachings to me, and we'll be undoubtedly talking about some of those on Tuesday to help you. Just like storytelling, good leadership has impact. And so I encourage you to get to know Rutherford. He's got a lot to say. It's global leadership in a times of epic global opportunities. And it is an epic time of history right now. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Have a great rest of your Friday. Great weekend. Take care. Reach out
Thanks,
anytime.
everybody.
Thanks so
Thanks,
much.
everyone. Special
Nice
thanks to
meeting you
Alex,
all.
Rhonda, Frans, and Peter.
Bye.
Thanks you for the
Have a great weekend,
opportunity.
Thanks, everybody. Good weekend.
Kannst du die Dinger hier auf?